I'm going to call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Narodowski. Trustee Keenley.
Present.
Trustee Wojcicki.
Present.
Trustee Dante.
Present.
Supervisor Bussie.
Present. I think Trustee Narodowski called in. He's sick. Okay, any public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go to the consent agenda. This is the authorization for payroll bills. This is the authorization for payroll bills for town fund, general assistance, road department. And then it's my supervisor's report with the social services, employment center, food pantry, youth services, adult and family counseling, transportation, and official. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Roll call.
Trustee Keenley.
Aye.
Trustee Wojcicki.
Aye.
Trustee Dante.
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie.
Aye. Now the approval of the minutes. We have the August 22nd regular board meeting and the August 31st public meeting with the for the Roppolo traffic plan. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion, any questions on that? The Roppolo was a public meeting, if you remember, to discuss the changes in the signage and the traffic patterns in the Roppolo neighborhood. Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Keenley.
Aye.
Trustee Wojcicki.
Aye.
Trustee Dante.
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie.
Aye. Okay, we'll go to the presentations. If we can have Chuck Goswine. He's going to be discussing the annual township audit.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Goswine from Wipfli. We are the financial statement auditors of the township, and tonight I'd like to present the report for the year ended March 31, 2022, and highlight a couple items therein. Our report starts on page 1. This is our opinion. You may notice that the format has changed somewhat from years prior. This was an auditing standards change that we incorporated this year. It leads with our opinion, which states that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. This essentially is a clean opinion. The financial statements follow on page 3. These are the government-wide financial statements, and they are unique in that they show long-term items like capital assets and long-term liabilities. The governmental fund financial statements, which more closely align with the day-to-day bookkeeping, those follow on the next pages. And on page 7, the statement of revenues collected, expenditures paid, and changes in fund balance. I'd just like to highlight, this shows the governmental funds of the township, and each ends with a positive change in fund balance. A healthy fund balance is important because it allows flexibility to the township to deal with any unexpected expenditures that may arise. Following the governmental fund financial statements are the proprietary fund statements. These account for the sewer fund of the township. And on page 10, I just want to note that operating revenue exceeded operating expense, and the sewer fund's net position increased at the end of the year. Following these statements are the notes to the financial statements. These offer further detail for the readers of the financial statements of elements that appear, such as accounting policies of the township, cash and investments and debt. And in the pension note, the township participates in the IMRF pension, and I just wanted to highlight that based on IMRF's actuary, the township has a net pension asset. This is important because it influences lower rates that the township would be paying on the pension.
Chuck,
Yes.
where is that positive number at?
I'm sorry, pardon me. Page 21,
21, okay.
the top of the page shows changes in the net pension liability.
Got it, thank you.
And following the notes, there is a summarized schedule on pages 29 and 30. This schedule shows summarized revenue and expenditure information, showing budget to actual information. I wanted to emphasize that each of the funds listed showed higher revenues than expected and also lower expenditures than expected based on the budget amounts. And following this schedule, the report ends with several detailed budget to actual schedules for each of the governmental funds. And I also wanted to add that the Township's obligation to file an AFR with the Illinois Comptroller has been completed on time. And at this point, could I answer any questions about the report?
Any questions from the board? It's a clean report.
Yeah,
Thank you to Erica for doing a great job.
thank you.
Is there anything like you'd like to add or anything that you feel that we need to pay attention to going forward?
Based on the audit, everything seems fine.
Okay,
Awesome.
There were no issues that came to our attention.
okay. All right, that's fine then.
Good to know.
If there's no other questions, then thank you very much, Chuck, and we appreciate the work you did on this, and I'm glad we have another clean audit, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
It's nice when we can just
See you next year.
move on.
We should all thank Erica.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yes,
work,
thank
and,
you.
and I'm sure he couldn't have gotten through this without you, so thank you.
All right, let's move on to the Mesirow Insurance Services. It's health insurance update for 2023. Mike?
Good evening, everybody. Supervisor Bussey, fellow trustees, it's great to see you all again. I'm Michael Balin. I'm with Alliant Insurance Services. We're located in Chicago, and I'm here to talk to everyone today about the employee benefits renewals for the township that are upcoming. So currently, the township sponsors group medical insurance, dental insurance, and vision insurance for the employees. The medical insurance and the vision insurance are renewing December 1st, and the dental insurance is renewing January 1st, 2023.
Okay.
So I'll get right into it. Unfortunately, I have the unique pleasure of sharing the not best news with some of our employer groups in terms of healthcare costs and where they're going. So the medical insurance increase this year to the township is 11.69%. That takes effect December 1st. Dental insurance received a rate pass, so rates are not going up on the dental. And the vision insurance is actually receiving a 7.41% decrease, which is good news. I'm excited to share that. We'll get into the details of the plans and some details around them, but before we did that, I wanted to share some color commentary and share some thoughts about inflation and how inflation is really affecting the healthcare industry. So this is a question we get from clients all the time, and I think it's a very relevant topic for anyone who consumes healthcare and any employer who sponsors healthcare on behalf of their employees. So if you go to the first page of the agenda, which is in everyone's packet, this is an analysis that was put together by Doug Levitt, who's our Director of Analytics for Alliant nationally. So the healthcare industry is not immune to inflation. So the most recent inflation reports that we received, that number is coming in at 8.26%, which we pulled from a Forbes article. So inflation across the spectrum of consumer goods in recent months has been significant. What's not 100% clear yet is how that's going to affect the medical and pharmaceutical industries. What we do know is that medical costs for employer groups and carriers are heavily dictated by PPO contracts, so contracting between carriers, medical groups, and hospitals. and those contracts renew on a 12 to 24-month cycle typically. This means that providers and hospitals wishing to increase prices to account for higher costs of labor and higher cost of goods cannot do so right away. So as a result, we don't expect the full freight of inflation to arrive in medical costs until 2 to 3 years in the future. So I know I already shared some bad news about the medical insurance increase. I'm getting a little bit even more pessimistic about where increases might come down the line. Now, pharmacy costs are expected to be less impacted by inflation.
That's a shocker.
So the largest driver of RX trends, at least in recent years, has been the high cost progression of specialty medications. So these are high cost specialty medications that come with a pretty significant cost share for employees. Now, the cost of specialty drugs are really dictated by the maximum price that the market will bear, and not necessarily the input costs of labor and materials going into those drugs. So inflation is real, it's here, it's affecting the healthcare industry, but there's going to be a bit of a lag in terms of when consumers and employer groups are really going to feel that pinch. All right. Now moving back to the actual renewals. If you take a look at the spreadsheet, which is this document right here, so the township offers 3 medical plans to employees, 1 HMO plan, and then 2 high deductible health plans. The increase, like I said before, is 11.69%. Now, in terms of different carriers or alternate options, we're happy to put together some additional plan options for the board to consider, but that would come with a pretty significant drop in benefits to the employees with higher deductibles, trimmer networks, and with the plan designs now, we have an HMO, we have 2 high deductible plans, so we do have choice for employees deciding on what's the best for them and their families. In terms of contributions and the splits between what the township pays and what the employees pay, so employee-only coverage, the township picks up 95% of that premium, the employee picks up 5% of it. The additional cost to add dependents, that is 50% covered by the township and 50% covered by the employee. Now, historically, with previous medical insurance increases, really the lion's share of those premium dollar increases has fallen on employees who are covering dependents. So a 95% amount being picked up by the township, rates go up 10%, that's a minimal cost impact to the employee. But if you're covering a spouse and children, there's an additional burden or more of a burden on those employees who are covering dependents. Not to say that the township is doing anything incorrectly with that 50-50 split, but just wanted to point that out, as we had our discussion tonight. And then finally, if you go towards the back or this last sheet here, so this is a total cost summary showing billed premium, what the township is paying, and what the employees are paying. So the top half is current, and then the bottom half would be the revised numbers given the increase that we just talked about. So currently for medical insurance, the monthly billed premium, the annual billed premium is $201,000 annually, of which the township picks up $167,000 of it, and employees pick up $33,000 of it. Moving down towards the bottom, after the renewal, the annual premium will be $224,000, of which the township picks up $186,000 of it, and employees are picking up $38,000 of that total number. So I know I just threw a lot out there for everybody. That was kind of a 20,000-foot view of the program and what's going on. Does anybody have any questions for me about the market, the program, what's going well, what might need a little bit of tweaking?
I guess my only question, and trust me, I'm not going to complain about it. Medical costs go up. I find it odd though that the pharmacy costs are less impacted by. Normally that's hand in hand with the cost of medicine, regardless of what it is, normally is driven by the same cycle for the medical costs. So I think that that's fantastic, that it's going to be less impacted by it, but do you have an idea of, when you say less?
Sure. So let me clarify that real quickly. So the trend in healthcare spending and healthcare cost is always going to be going up. So you have medical cost and you have pharmaceutical cost. Now, pharmaceutical trend is typically higher than medical cost trend increases. So when I said the pharmacy part is going to go down, that's only in terms of inflation and how inflation is going to affect that industry. So typically when we talk about cost trends, taking inflation out of the mix, so if trend for medical expenses is going up 6%, pharmacy can easily be double that, 12%, 13%. So just want to make sure I made myself clear with that, but
Okay.
the inflation impact of it
Okay.
is not going to affect the pharmaceutical side of it as much as the medical side of it.
Okay.
So these numbers are based on the exact same coverage for next year?
Correct,
Have no.
correct. So in previous years, sometimes there were plan tweaks where Blue Cross would change a plan around, change a deductible, change a copay. That is not happening this year. It's just the premiums that are going to be different.
And it's roughly a $5,000 increase for the employee, from 33 to 38.
That's correct.
The total?
Okay.
Is there, Paul, have you had any feedback from the employees about problems with the current, they have troubles with the current plans that we are providing?
Erica would probably give more
Have you
information
any-
about that than I do, but we haven't heard anything.
So they're happy with what the plan provides?
With what it provides.
Okay.
What's that?
With what it provides, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's nothing, Mike, there are no tweaks that we could make without significant changes in the coverage to save money, or for the employee or for us?
Sure, and kind of like I was saying before, we're happy to show some additional Blue Cross options in there. I remember during our conversation last year, we did evaluate a United Healthcare quote, and we tried to match it as best that we could, with what the current program is. And there were some significant differences, and this isn't a knock on United Healthcare, but, differences, it could be good, it could be bad, but it would be pretty disruptive, and there wasn't a significant cost savings to justify that switch. And that's really the same
Yeah.
messaging today.
I would think, I don't know, my feeling to the board is the employee's been very comfortable with the Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it seems to meet their needs. We've been fortunate that we haven't had a lot of additional cost associated with providing the plans, but we did look at some options in the Blue Cross Blue Shield, though what we have right now seems to have been the one that we've kind of coalesced towards over time.
Sure. And actually, one aspect I didn't articulate yet is the Elk Grove Hsa Contribution that the township makes on behalf of the employees. And that's a very rich benefit. So if an employee enrolls into Plan 2 or Plan 3, every January 1, the township contributes money to their HSA account, and that money doesn't go anywhere. So even if the employee doesn't use it, they can roll it over from year to year and use it as a bit of a medical nest egg in case they do have a pretty big medical expense down the road.
That's pretty good.
And that's a very competitive, good program for the staff.
And that contribution's unchanged. We're doing the same thing, we'd be doing the same thing under your proposals we did last year, correct?
Correct.
31,700, okay.
Now, the splits in terms of percentages or how much the township contributes, that can always be changed, right? So that's entirely on the township as to what the township would like to do. And if you did have different splits in mind, we'd be happy to illustrate those for you to show you the cost implications. But that might be a deeper conversation.
Yeah.
Just so I fully understand, for the employee only, it's a 95-5 split. And then if there's an employee with a spouse, I'm just blanking right now. Is the employee still 95-5, but then on the spouse it's 50-50, or is it?
Correct.
And with, once again, with children, it's 95.5 with the employee, and then with, is there a limited number of kids, or is it kids altogether, it's 50/50, or how do you determine that?
That's a good
with the
question.
kids?
So the children amount is actually capped at 3. So for someone that might have a 4th child or 5th child, there wouldn't be an additional premium for those children. But each individual on the plan, there's a premium associated with that individual. So you have the employee rate, a spouse rate, and each child has a rate associated with them. So for the employee, correct, it's 95/5, that's the split, and then it's 50/50 for each additional premium for each dependent.
Until you hit the 4th kid. So there's
To a
an
maximum of 3
There's an
children.
advantage to having 4 or 5 kids, right?
Right. I have 1. I can barely handle 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
And then when it says family, how is it? I mean, we've got employee only, employee with spouse, employees with children, then what's the family? How's that different?
So a family would include spouse and children.
Okay, well, then, yeah, okay, that's kind of obvious from the other 3, right? I
Right,
mean, yeah,
right.
Okay. Okay. All right, is there any questions that the board has for Mike? I mean, this is pretty straightforward. It's not, I'm not necessarily happy that the costs have gone up, but I mean, that's
Out of our control.
yeah, exactly, unless we want to change the plan or change the percentage of the split. But I think the plan is, the plans that we've kind of come to, these 3 plans, have been very effective, and I think been embraced by the employees, are comfortable with it. And the split, we kind of settled on that about 2 years ago, too. So.
Yeah, and I remember the conversation about the potential changing of the plan to United Healthcare,
Yeah.
which I'm not a fan of.
No,
Either.
I'd agree with you.
So,
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Mike, could you explain what goes on from here as far as, like, normally, I think you usually come in, make this presentation, they have a chance to soak it in. Usually it's the following month is when they vote on it.
Right.
Is that still true to form? Is that where we're
Yeah.
going to go?
Yeah,
So
so-
you're going to plan to come back next month?
Yeah, we'll be back next month. The only real deadline that we're taking a look at is that we need to inform Blue Cross of any potential plan changes by November 1st. So that's after the October board meeting. So obviously you don't need to make any decisions tonight, but we'll be back in October, talk about it again, and then hopefully get decisions at the October board meeting.
So basically, you're going to come back to explain anything else that they need to have answered, and then they will vote, and then we'll still have a few days if there are any changes to get into Blue Cross Blue Shield by the November 1 date.
Correct.
And what I'd like to suggest to the board is that you guys take this now after we've talked to them, look at it. If you have questions, get a hold of Paul, go through Paul in the next week or two, so that we go into the next meeting ready to vote on it, or that we're aware of any issues that have come up in the meantime that we can talk about to Mike in the meantime. So I just want to, what I'm looking for is for you all to look at it now, give any questions or any problems to us now so that we can work with Mike, so when he comes in, he's prepared to address those issues. Okay? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, the other Mike, on Alliant Insurance Services, our property and liability insurance, he's down in Tampa, hunkering down for the hurricane. So is it Orlando or Tampa?
I'm in Tampa at the far end of the bay, north end of the bay, actually. So it looks like we're potentially going to miss it where I'm at. I mean, we're going to get impacted, but as for the main destruction, I don't want to say fortunately, but it has moved south to the Fort Myers area, which is about 2.5 hours south. So.
Well, when it moved south, it went right over my place in Sarasota, so I'm not so happy that you're not getting it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. You know, stuff like this, you don't wish on anybody. And if I had my choice, I'd be in Sarasota too. The wife's family's up here though. I love Sarasota.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, if you can go ahead and walk us through this.
Sure. Good evening, Supervisor and Trustees. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Mike Alicia with Alliant Insurance Services, and I've been your insurance broker on the property and casualty for over 10 years now. And we're going to present your renewal. I'll get right to the point. There is a increase of your premium from $55,600 to $62,318. I'm sorry. I'm in the proposal on page 8. And within that proposal on page 8 are the side-by-side comparisons of your program the last few years. So the differences, the premiums increasing 12.8% dollar-wise. That's an additional $6,718. Overall, the market is still very negative toward municipalities, especially those in Illinois and more so in Cook County. The drivers for your increase, besides the market conditions in general, the township's property values are increasing from $9,177,915 to $9,803,625. Your values are increasing 6.8%. Most of that is due to inflationary costs. And we insured a replacement cost. So the inflation is lack of material, more expensive labor is the push on that 6.8%. Cyber premiums, while it's included in your package, and the township has done an excellent job keeping up with insurance carrier required protocols. Not much was needed to be done with the township this year. All the heavy lifting was done by the township last year. The reinsurance cost through your current insurance program with the Illinois Counties Risk Management Trust, their reinsurance costs almost doubled. So basically, if we looked at the open market for you, for instance, for example, last year, your premium would have been around $4,000 for $1 million limit. This year, it would have been $8,000. So some of that 12.08% increase is a result of the cyber insurance market, which is just terrible for municipal accounts. Pretty much everybody. It is not good, and it's very expensive to keep up these protocols. Looking forward to the future, I do recommend that the township put in some monies within your budget to enhance your protocols as they are pushed out a couple times a year from the insurance carriers on what you need to maintain your solid protocols. And so far you guys have been doing an excellent job with that. Any questions so far between property and cyber?
No.
Okay. The other thing that is the really big driver right now is claims. Something that the township really hasn't had up until recent. The biggest claim is the property claim from the 21-22 policy year, which is this current year. The property claim for the roof is in the amount of $364,000. We also have a workers' compensation claims in the 2021 year of $96,000, some change. The 1920 year, we have an employment practice claim for $14,582. And in the 1819 year, we have an auto claim for $65,000. So there's been some claims. A number of, I think about a month and a half ago, we found out the direction the carrier was going to go in on what type of increase that we were going to see for the township. And I brought it to the executive director, who I believe brought it to the supervisor. And we agreed that this is still the best deal in town. If I were to market this account with all this loss on there, the carriers and we're very limited in Cook County. There's maybe 3, maybe 4 carriers that will write in Cook County. My 29 years of experience tells me that they would decline it due to the claim activity. So in situations like this, where you do have that large shock loss and it was out of your control, but carriers have blinders on. They can't see past an act of God, like heavy rain or anything like that. There's nothing you could have done to prevent that. But they seem not to feel that way. So that claim is going to be a sore when we would market this either this year, next year, for the next few years. What I'd like to do, and I've spoken to the executive director about this, is to monitor the market, get the pre-renewal indication out in front, have the township decide, or what I really don't want to do is show our hand of cards and send this to the market every year and get declinations every year. Because we have a small finite number of carriers, if these carriers see this every year and they don't get the business every year, they're not going to quote it when we really, really need them to come through with us. If we, God forbid, we have additional losses. This is the strategy that I've used for airports in very large cities who had claim situations like this, and it has worked in the past. Your staff does an excellent job about getting me the data very early. So we start our process in July of each year. Your staff gets me the renewal stuff very quickly, and we could go to the market rather quickly and get that direction from the carrier. And if the township would like to market it, I'm more than happy to do that. What I don't want to do is saturate the market when we really don't have to, because carriers are just not competitive in Cook County, unfortunately. And pending any questions, that is the presentation.
Is the, do the claims that we have, they drop off after 5 years?
Yes, sir, you're exactly right. So unfortunately, that property claim is going to take some time, but we can tell a story, once some of these other claims fall off, we have a better story, because I don't want to show them that 5 years with these type of claims on that. They're just not going to be competitive.
Michael, if I understand you correctly, are you saying that the unfortunate weather event is a ding also?
Yep.
Yeah, yes, unfortunately. These carriers have turned very predatory, in my opinion. And they're gonna fault you for everything. Quite frankly, with regards to your renewal right now, I think it's absolutely impressive what this pool did. You can look at the loss like that, and your increase is only $6,700. And that's because the ICRMT as a pool, they buy reinsurance, so they're not buying at the first dollar. Those reinsurance premiums are a little bit more competitive than we would get buying first dollar from Travelers or Liberty or some of those other carriers. But they just can't get past something like that. It's amazing.
Is that common?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
So if we get another storm before 5 years, then we'll be in the same pickle then.
Well, we're going to be in this for a while until it washes off. I mean, and
And
if
then
we
if
had
we get
another
another
big
storm.
claim, it would make it even more difficult. They increased their premiums to get their costs back.
Okay.
Yeah, when you look at the history of this carrier, they've always been extraordinarily fair and flat. A couple years ago, you had a 10.3% reduction. Last year, the premium went up about, this is on the property and casualty only, went up about 6.858%, about $3,000 as you added, some new property values on there, and had a little claim. So out of all the carriers that we work with, and we work with them all, this pool, the ICRMT, is one of our only true partners, and I don't say that lightly. They truly are. They care about the insured and their clients compared to the larger commercial carriers. One carrier in particular, on one of my Cook County school districts, they're running a 5% loss ratio, which is beyond impressive. And they're getting slammed with an $80,000 increase. And I find it just predatory, criminal, and a whole bunch of other words I can use. And that $80,000, that could be spent better with the children as opposed to their ridiculous premium. So I'm fighting them right now. They have no losses. It's
So basically,
ridiculous. They're using, societal issues and every other excuse out there.
Basically, what I'm
This
hearing
carrier
you say, clearly say, is that given the claims that we've had, and given the cybersecurity issues, from your experience, this is the best policy we're going to get, and it's with one of the insureds that you're most comfortable with.
Absolutely. We've been working with IPMG or ICMT for 20 plus years. We are their largest broker. In my opinion, I think this is one of the best deals that I have seen in my 29 years of doing this. I would have thought your premium would have probably increased 20 to 25, maybe even 30%. Due to these losses.
Okay.
And surprisingly, it came to this. And it was easy.
Okay.
It was very easy. And that's how business should be done.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the board? No? Okay, then we'll approve this at the next meeting. So once again, we,
It's not
If you have
on,
any questions, you present everything he has. Mike,
Okay.
Mike, you have anything else to say?
Right.
Beyond that, there's
It's
not
not on the
follow-up to
agenda.
this, right? I'm sorry, you can't hear me, Brian. Can you hear me, Mike?
Need a microphone.
does it have to be on the agenda to vote on it?
yeah.
Mike.
Don't we have to have it on the agenda to vote on it?
I personally would like to
No,
take
It's
this
not on
home
the
and
agenda
read
for
it.
new business, for
Over.
approval.
It's not on there.
Well, you don't.
Oh,
It's on the, we have the presentation, but we don't have it in new business like we have the acceptance of the annual audit.
For our purposes, I don't need board approval to renew an account. That can come from the supervisor or the executive director. It's signed by a mayor, some of my executive directors,
Sure.
supervisors. It all depends
I will,
on
Mike,
your
I
operation.
will want the board approval, but would you have a deadline on this?
We just need this bound up by December 1st.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right, well, thanks.
My only concern is if there is an anomaly that might happen in between now and then in the market. I'm pretty sure, almost positive, that there wouldn't be any issues with your premium, but we have seen crazy things last year, especially within the cyber market.
Okay.
That would be my only concern.
Okay.
It's remote, but.
All right, if there's no other questions, then Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Take care.
Thanks.
I thought it had to be, you can, if it's presentation, it's a presentation. But I thought to take action on it, it has to be on here as an item, for an approval item.
I mean, do how you want to go, but.
Yeah, I'm sure we can do it, my feeling or my thought was that it had to be on the agenda as an item that is being voted on to approve. Like we're doing with the final audit. I mean, that's on here to approve today. Even though we had a presentation, we're still approving it today. The other two items we just have as presentations, not as action items. Okay. Now, if one thing to consider here is we have another issue with the IGAs for the assessor's office. Then we have this, and if we want to close this up quicker, we could hold a special meeting to address those separately if we wanted to. Okay. So for right now, let's. Well, I guess let me get well. I'll get to that at the end of the meeting. From this, that's the presentations. Are there any other presentations? No? Okay. Then let's have the assessor's report.
As you can see from my written report, which is rather lengthy, usually I try and keep it as succinct as possible and focus merely on, the volume of work that we've done. But I have to tell you that the triennial reassessment for Elk Grove Township by the Cook County Assessor's Office was a nightmare of unprecedented proportion. And I am certainly not overstating that. Once the bills hit the mailboxes, we had tried to prepare ourselves for the request for appeals. What we were not prepared for was the 23,000 errors that occurred on the back of each and every residential reassessment notice. You can look at the second page of my report because the numbers are unbelievable. In a 30-day period with a staff of 3, and I brought on an additional part-timer, we did 1,471 assessed value appeals, returning 600 emails on just questions. We had 1,231 returned phone calls, which meant that we had to answer those calls and then return them, so double that number. And we had 1,435 walk-ins. Along with that, we had to do our regular business. So from that standpoint, my compliments to my staff, to our new part-time remote person, David Walker, who was an absolute godsend, and my thanks to our taxpayers, who in very difficult and trying and aggravating circumstances knew that we were dealing with a tsunami, and for the most part dealt with it with a great deal of grace. And I thank them for that, because it could have been very, very ugly. Suffice it to say that we got every phone call returned, every email returned, and every appeal filed with the county on time. Now, that being said, it brings me to some of the difficulties that we are going to be experiencing in the future. Obviously, I hired somebody part-time to deal with this. However, with the help of Jason Tremblay, our attorney, an intergovernmental agreement has been drawn up. It is to bind surrounding townships with our assessor's office. It's assessor office to assessor office. We are never open or rarely open at the same time when it comes to tax bills or, tax bills, yes, we're open at the same time. But for appeals with the county or board of review, it usually goes in sort of a domino situation. This IGA would allow me to send one of my staff to help Wheeling Township at no cost to Wheeling Township. And conversely, Wheeling would share an employee with me when I'm busy. The same would go for Schaumburg or Palatine or Maine. This, to me, is an incredible cost-saving advantage to our assessor community from the standpoint that if they're open, we're not going to be as busy, are we? So I will have staff freed up. It will not affect the quality of service given to our taxpayers, but it will certainly enhance and relieve the pressure on the jurisdiction that's open for either appeals or board of review. Now, these agreements have been written up. They have been approved by our attorney, Mr. Tremblay, and I would ask the supervisor to get a consensus that we can proceed with this intergovernmental agreement.
So we'll address that in the discussion section at the end.
Okay.
Okay. Anything
Any
else?
questions that you might have for me?
No, but I feel your pain.
You will.
All right, thank you, Connie. Clerk's report?
Yes, I will say that I got my email response from your staff on a Saturday. So I was like, okay, they are working today.
And a couple of Sundays.
There was no FOIA requests or no filings this month. All the agency grant applications have been sent out, and they are due November 1st. And we did have a entry in the Elk Grove Hometown Parade on September 17th. We had our food pantry bus and our food pantry truck and our senior bus, and I think about 6 or 8 people in the parade, so. And that's it.
Okay, any questions for the clerk? No, sir. Okay, supervisor's report. In addition to the parade, we also, our GA department also participated in Mount Prospect's Cultural Day. They had a booth there for part of the day. This is an event where the Mount Prospect celebrates the various different cultures that exist in the city, in the village. And it was a good opportunity just to reach out to a broad, diverse group of residents. We have the Special Service Day set up for October 4th. And that, if you remember right, contains 3 services. One is the DMV, and that allows them to renew licenses and handle a number of things that you would usually have to go into the DMV office for. It was highly successful last time we did it, and we've paired this up now with also with the Lions Club sight and hearing, or hearing, I think just
Sight and sound.
sight and sound van that'll be here, which provides free testing for individuals. And then we also have the Sheriff's Department, Cook County Sheriff's Department drug drop-off, where you can drop off prescription drugs and so forth, and get rid of them without putting them down your drain or whatever, which you aren't supposed to do. So it's the DMV, it's the Lions Club Sight and Sound, and it's the Sheriff's Department's drug drop-off. At the same token, we will have a booth in here. The drug drop-off and the DMV will be in here. The van will be outside, but we'll also have in here a booth for the for our GA and our GAEA office, our General Assistance Office, and senior programs and the likes, so that people we provide additional information for people come in for these other services that once again we're we're making people aware of what other services we have. We'll also be doing a shredding day with the Mount Prospect Alliance. Vince has taken the lead on this. That'll be on October 29th. I'd like 2 trustees to participate. I think, Vince, you're going to be there.
Absolutely.
So it'd be one of the other trustees, and you guys can decide among yourselves who will participate in that.
Is that event going to take place here?
No, it'll be on the
Recplex.
Recplex in Mount Prospect.
That's on Dempster and Elmhurst Road.
I'd be willing to do that.
Okay, all right, that's fine. It'll be for about, I think, 3 hours, Paul?
Yes.
9 to 12? I think it's 9 to 12. We'll only have 1 truck this year. We discovered last year that we didn't need 2 trucks. For some reason, we got a strong turnout, we can always add 2 next year. And we've been doing this, we're trying to do this annually with the Mount Prospect Group, and then Mount Prospect Alliance, and then annually, we'd like to do something with the Elk Grove Village Lions, but we need to establish a program with them, whether we do another shredding or whether we do something else. But with the Mount Prospect, it's been shredding. With Roppolo, which you guys are well familiar, because you read the minutes which you approved for that special meeting, we have come to an agreement with Elk Grove Village in terms of Durking Road, which is their responsibility. They will be, it's a village road, they will be placing the signs in themselves. They're going to do the sign
Installation.
yeah, the sign, they're going to build the signs, they're going to install the signs. Basically, it is in compliance with the plan that we presented, except that they are going to have parking, no parking for trucks rather than residence parking only, and it's just something they don't have parking for residents only, and they don't want to add that, so they're going to put no parking for trucks on the west side, which is the east side, the east side, which is the residence side. Otherwise, Durkee will have the no right turns for trucks, and will have the tonnage requirements on the turn. And that the village will be doing that. We'll be tracking, monitoring, making sure it gets done. On the other roads, Roppolo, Vera, and, Roppolo, Vera, and, not Elizabeth, but anyway, the third road, those will be, we're waiting still for approval from the county for signage. If we don't hear something in another couple weeks, we'll go back to the county commissioner, Morrison, to see if he can move things along. Those roads, the signs on those roads, we will be paying for, and we will be installing. We'll have a third party make them and install them, but we are taking responsibility for that. Basically, what we're doing with this plan is preventing trucks from going through Roppolo and the cross streets, east-west cross streets, Vera, and my mind's gone blank on the second one. Trucks will be forced to go down Durking, which is fine because all the businesses are on Durking, except for the one in back in the northeast corner. But they have access to Higgins Road, I believe it is. They can exit onto Higgins. They don't need to come through Roppolo. The Roppolo subdivision. So after all these years, we finally have gotten the plan in place. We had a meeting with the residents, and they were comfortable with it. And then we got Elk Grove to move forward, Elk Grove Village to move forward with Durking. Now we just need the approval from the county so we can move forward with the other part. There is a developer who's trying to buy the properties in Roppolo. It is still in process. So if for some reason the county doesn't get back to us doesn't get back to us until they've all accepted their buyouts, obviously we won't do it. But at this point, there are several holdouts that do not want to sell their homes. And if that continues, the developer at some point will walk away.
Unless he gets a percentage amount.
Pardon?
Unless there's a percentage amount.
No, I mean, what do you mean by a percentage amount?
Well, I mean, if you get a majority of the people.
No, there has to be every one of them. They don't want to buy it
They don't
unless
want-
they get they don't want a house sitting in the middle. So it has to be all of them, or they'll walk away. They're being offered a very significant sum of money, and I'm sure those three residents that, if they refuse to sell, are not going to be too popular, but, that's their right. So, So at this point, we're proceeding ahead with Elk Grove doing Durkin and us doing the other roads once we get the approval, unless something changes in the near term for the sale of that subdivision. On construction, our construction in our facility, the roof has been pretty well completed. They still have to install some of the air conditioning and the units, the various units that need to go on the roof, but the roof itself has been completed, and once the HVAC and the other units are installed, we're all done with that. They've also pretty well finished cleaning out the back room. We had all that leftover furniture and junk from when the village owned it. That has been pretty well cleaned out and eliminated as well too. The next step now, once that roof is done and the room is cleaned out, is to move forward then with the bathroom and the redoing of the bike safety space, and then to build the challenge course, and then to build the bike safety, and to replace the fencing on the east side. Right now, our integral is gathering supplies. We've had issues supply chain. And they're also waiting for the plans to be approved by the village, but that shouldn't take that much longer. So hopefully, we'll be moving forward with the core part of the program in the next month. And if we get going on it, I think, Paul, didn't they say they could knock it off, and they thought they could knock it off in like 6 weeks or so? 6 to 8 weeks. If that would be great, because then they get done before probably any major snows. But if it gets delayed too much more, we may be talking about spring again. Talking about snow, I did sign today the IGA agreement with Mount Prospect for the snow plowing of our roads in Mount Prospect Village area. That's a small stretch that's a small area, which is Hamilton and Elizabeth and East Diane. It's not a large area, and our costs on an annual basis are going to be like $3,000. So and then we'll also be doing that little piece of Richard Hall by the rural fire district. We're still trying to determine who owns that. We're not sure if we do, if the village does, if the rural fire district does, we're not sure. Regarding the rural fire, and then on the snow IGAs, we have sent the straw man, or the form, the basic format, IGA format to Elk Grove Village. They're reviewing that. We will send them our agreement that we do with Mount Prospect to show them, okay, a completed IGA, and then hopefully they'll get back to us in the next month so that we can finalize something with them. Okay. There's a little bit more road mileage with them than there is with Mount Prospect. Then going on from there, we also have there we got here subs. Okay. Oh, the Social Services Committee. We now have the 3 resident members of the board. We've had several recommendations. I've interviewed a number of people, and I've decided to go with three members, 3 women. One is with NSSEO, which is the special services body that provides services for kids with special needs. And the other one is a retired District 59 employee, and the third one is working for Mount Prospect in their social services department. And so Paul will be going out with an email or a letter email to all the members of the board, which will be these 3 citizens. Dick is the chairman. Vince, are you on that one? Social services? I don't remember here. Who's my other trustee? Pardon?
Dick, isn't it?
Well, Dick is the chairman of the board.
Right.
And then it's yourself, and it's Corey, And we have one of the, it will be rotating between Renee and Luann. I'm not sure who the trustee is off the top of my head here. So anyway, the board is complete. Way we're doing this is the board, this committee will have its first meeting in early December. He'll go out with an email indicating, announcing the meeting and welcoming the members of the board. It will then, the chairman at that point, Dick, will set up a schedule for meetings. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a regular social services review and improvement committee process with a report in June before we then reconfigure it for a one-year purpose to the state-required committee and report. This is because even though it has the report is supposed to, I should say, the committee is, this is because the committee for the state purposes needs to be set up by June 10th, but then you've got 18 months to file the report. So we're going to run this as our committee first. That way we get the experience on our own, we get the procedure set up, we generate our first report, and then it'll be an easy transition for 1 year to the state board, which is basically ours on our committee on steroids, because we'll have to add, I'll have to be the chairman then, and we'll have to add all the trustees. All the trustees have to be on the committee then for the state,
Is that the 10-year one?
That's a 10-year one.
Okay, yeah, so then I'm on that committee with Dick.
Okay, so you're on, so that's what I thought. I thought the two of you were on the Social Services Review and Improvement Committee, and then in following this first report, we will then have to transform it into the state review committee where we have to submit a report to the county and address a number of issues, but a lot of those issues will be similar to what what our committee will be doing anyway.
Is that, and I believe when we discussed that in the past, wasn't that the, I believe I asked if there was a template that the state had.
No, there's no template.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
You'd think they would, but there is none.
So and I understand.
So you're going to be getting townships and government bodies, which, remember, that report, 10-year report, is just required of all governmental units other than state, county, and village. Townships and all special districts have to do it. So
I guess
school
my
districts-
only concern with that, from the state level is, how do they, if they're gonna get something different from each township.
That's not the purpose of this. I just feel.
I understand that.
I think the purpose is just show they're doing something.
I get it, but how do they, how are they supposed to evaluate?
They won't.
It'd be put in a
Okay.
file.
This is gonna go into Cook County and it's gonna go in some drawer. And maybe it'll be pulled out at some time if there's a special need of some sort, or there's some controversy, or there's some action.
You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. No, they're gonna-
Based on what you just said, if there's some sort of controversy, how do they know in that report where they're going to find out?
Right.
They'll call the county, they'll ask for that report, see what it says. If they haven't been, you would think most government bodies will go through, do this report, and if they're real honest, we'll have positive things and negative things. But let's be honest, what'll happen, most government bodies will come out and give a real positive report, and it will be in multiple different formats, and I don't know how useful it's gonna be to anybody.
Okay.
I'm being very cynical on this, and I probably shouldn't be as open as I'm being, but I think this is just an exercise in futility.
Okay.
I think it's a program or a report that they've established in order to show that they're doing something to help manage government, the expansive government, the expansive government bodies that exist in the state. And they're going after special districts and townships without really a real, how would you say, without a real effective format for identifying what really could be done or couldn't be done. And I don't know why it isn't more structured or more, maybe why it's not being done in a way that can maybe produce some positive results. probably just because the effort is simply to show that something's being done, regardless of whether it's effective or not.
I mean, you know, based on, it can't be financial, because based on this, the numbers are already there.
No, it's, I
Yeah.
I don't know why we're really doing it. And to be honest with you, we're ahead of the game. Our township's ahead of the game. We're setting up this Social Services Review and Improvement Committee, which basically is gonna be looking at the same things that they're asking for. They're a little bit broader than the venue we're looking at, but we're gonna very easily transform our Social Services Review and Improvement Committee into this board every 10 years, because what we're doing is basically the same thing, just expanded a little bit. Okay? All right, let's see, is there anything else? I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, sir.
Okay.
Just
All right, is there a
real
motion?
quick, Sorry, the Special Services Day, 10 to 2?
Pardon?
Special Services Day on October 4th is 10 to 2.
Yeah, that is October 4th, and I don't know what the time is for the service day.
I believe it's 10 to 2.
And you need people to come help that day?
Do we need, no, really
No?
don't.
Okay.
Because they're going to be the DMV will provide people, the Lions will provide people, and the sheriff's office will provide people,
Okay.
and we'll have our staff here for social services. will be here.
You know, the Lions probably have 2 people, because we just did it at the market.
Yeah,
And the gentleman, it could take about 3 people on the bus. You know, it's relatively quick, and
yeah, that won't be a problem. And then for the shredding day, if we have 2 trustees there,
Okay.
and the Lions provide 2-3 people, that's all we really need.
Okay.
Okay? Correspondence, wait, is there a motion to approve the elected officials' reports?
so move.
Second.
Okay, a roll call?
Trustee Keenley?
Aye.
Trustee Woteki?
Aye.
Trustee Dante?
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie?
Aye. All right, there's no correspondence, there's no old business, let's go to the new business. You've heard the report by our certified public accountant and the audit, which appeared to be, well, it was very clean. What we do is we need to accept the annual audit for fiscal year 2022. So do I have a motion to accept the annual audit
So
as
moved.
presented?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
No, sir.
If not, roll call?
Trustee Keenley?
Aye.
Trustee Woteki?
Aye.
Trustee Dante?
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie?
Aye. All right, that passes. Then I need to have an approval of the IGA with Mount Prospect for the snow plowing. You have the copy of that IGA. As I said, they will be plowing the remaining unincorporated area within the boundaries of Mount Prospect. It's a relatively small strip of property, of roads, and it will be very minimal cost. I think this IGA points out how we've been able to save the taxpayer money, because this is our cost on this is virtually nil. And yet before, we had to maintain a highway commissioner, employees, trucks, all that stuff, buy salt. This is a good example of how I think we can meet the needs of our constituents, while at the same time being very efficient with the funds we have and effective with the funds we have.
Agreed.
So is there a motion to approve the IGA for Mount Prospect snow plowing?
So move.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the IGA? Okay, if not, the roll call?
Trustee Keenley?
Aye.
Trustee Woteki?
Aye.
Trustee Dante?
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie?
Aye. Okay, now we go to the ordinance 2022-04, Town Fund General Assistance Levy for fiscal year 2023-2024. This is the 10th year that our levy will be unchanged, and I think that says a lot too. If you noticed in the audit, we actually have increased our balances, despite the fact that we have purchased a new facility, refurbished it, are adding additional services and facilities on this property. We've added a senior citizens program director. We've added a additional half-time therapist for the adult and family counseling, and a number of other things, yet we're still operating at on a balanced budget, and actually better than a balanced budget. So I think that, and I'm not saying that we're going to always be able to do this, depending on what circumstances arise and what needs arise, but so far we've been able to manage our finances, I think, very effectively. So Ordinance 2022-04, if you look through that, the total for if you look at the total for the administrative division is $1,083,433. The assessors is $230,000, and then for social services it's $915,38, and so for a total general town fund of $2,228,471. Are there any questions in terms of the levy here?
No, sir.
Okay, now this is not the budget, this is the levy. This is, we're submitting to the county for the collection of taxes that would support us. Our budget will not necessarily reflect exactly how this is broken out, but this basically raises the money we need to manage the budget, and it gives us a basic outline of why we're asking for what. Do I does this have to lay on the table, Paul, to the next meeting, or can I ask for approval tonight? Levy. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Any further questions? If not, the roll call.
Trustee Keenley?
Aye.
Trustee Wojcicki?
Aye.
Trustee Dante?
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie?
Aye. All right, the additional, well, I think we also need to, yeah, okay. Then the ordinance 2022-05 RD, this is the road district levy. Even though we don't have a road district department anymore, we still have the levy because we still have to fund the services that we're providing, whether it's paying for the snow plowing or whether it's maintenance of the roads. So the levy continues. Also, the road district needs to repay the loan that the town fund gave them in order to do a major overhaul of the roads a couple of years ago. So this levy is to finance the operations that are needed to maintain the roads and bridges, even though we don't have a specific department anymore. If you can look at that once again on the road district, the total for administrative division is $223,703. The total for the road department is $248,000. Then the total for the building and equipment division is $63,873. Provision for contingencies is $4,200, and the total for the general road department is $539,776. Then you've got the general road fund tax, so the total here is still $539,776. Because the general road fund tax is the only tax that we're using here in terms of recapitulation. The equipment and building tax and the joint bridge tax is not applicable to us anymore. So the total is $539,776, and that will be more than adequate for us to meet our requirements in providing the road and bridge services, as well as continuing to pay back the loan to the town fund.
George, is the brush pickup?
We're continuing with the brush pickup.
Included in,
Yeah, yes, it is.
because so that would just be under the maintenance dash roads?
That's under the maintenance dash roads.
And assuming the IGA with Elk Grove goes okay, the salt line item would come out?
Would come out.
Okay.
We have that in there now because it isn't
Because it's,
finalized.
yeah. Okay.
And with the brush, just as a comment there, I mean, that's a budget item, but I will say that the villages don't provide that service, just snow plowing. We don't have to provide the brush pickup, but it's something that we've done over the years for unincorporated areas. So we've been continuing it. I have to relook at the contract that we have right now with the vendor we're working with. It's a little bit steep, and maybe we can find an alternative to that. So that'd be something that I'll be paying attention to as we go into next year. All right, is there a motion to approve ordinance 2022-05 RD?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Okay, is there any discussion? If not, roll call.
Trustee Keenley,
Aye.
trustee Wojcicki,
Aye.
trustee Dante,
Aye.
supervisor Bussie.
Aye. Okay, I do have to do one thing. I did not, and I will, what I did is I went through and gave the totals for the general town fund, but I also need to address the general assistance fund, which falls under 2022-04. I did not address that. I should have addressed that with the general fund, administrative division, assessor, and social services division. But under the general assistance fund, just as a address there, it's the second page, or I should say third and fourth page of that ordinance. The administrative division there for general assistance is $292,819. The home relief division is $149,900. So the total then for the general assistance fund, which is actually part of the general town fund that we already approved, results in a total amount for the town fund of $2,671,190. So let me just summarize again, since I did not combine the two like I should have. Under the general town fund, you have a little over $1 million. Under the assessors division, you have $230,000. The social services department, about $900,000. And then for general assistance, for the administrative side, it's $292,000, and for the home relief, it's $149,000, which for a total of $442,000. Combine all that together, and it's $2,671,190 dollars. So if I could have a motion to approve the amended ordinance, well, it wouldn't be amended, but I'm going to ask for a motion to approve ordinance 2022-04 as amended by the supervisor.
So moved.
Second.
So we just approved the 2.2?
We approved, what I gave you is a dollar amount. We approved the
2.2.
ordinance, but I gave you the dollar amount without the general assistance fund. So what
So-
I'm doing is adding the general assistance fund. So it wasn't, what I had said was the general fund was $2,228,471.
Okay.
But I had not indicated that I had not added the general assistance fund of $442,719.
Okay.
Combine those two, and then we're
Right,
$2,671,000.
I was just saying that's what we voted on, though, was the 2.2.
Yeah, we approved the ordinance, but I'm a little uncomfortable because I told you what the total amount on that was $2,228,000, when it wasn't
Revote,
that,
okay.
because I had not included, I failed to include the general assistance fund when I discussed it. So I'm not sure what the exact procedure is to add this, but what I'm going to ask for is a motion to approve ordinance 2022-04 as amended by the supervisor. I'm not sure exactly.
We're amending the amendment.
We're amending it. We're amending the
Ordinance.
we're amending the approval that we originally had for this ordinance.
So do
So
we need
moved.
to vote again?
Pardon?
Then we need to
Second.
vote.
Yeah, we're going to vote again.
Okay.
Second, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? You understand what I'm doing here? Okay. All in favor? I'm sorry, roll call.
Trustee Keenley.
Aye.
Trustee Woteki.
Aye.
Trustee Dante.
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie.
Aye. Okay, then we go to the North Side Projects. This is a corrected, excuse me, a correction to the, or I should say, what am I saying here?
Change order?
Pardon?
Replacement.
Request.
Yeah. What do you-
Integral.
My mind's gone blank in terms of what what this is. It's a modification of the budget, of the contract with Integral because of a additional cost. Well, we discovered that one of the HVAC units on the roof back there, when we were repairing the roof, was damaged and needed to be repaired. It's about 20 years old, and in discussions with Integral, they said it's cost you maybe $10,000 to repair it. If you replace it for $30,000, you'll have it replaced. You'll have it good for another 20 years, or whatever the case may be. So the decision that I made and what we're proposing here for the board to approve is to go ahead and replace the old HVAC unit on the roof back there with a new unit, which will eliminate any potential, well, any likely potential for another set of repairs in the near term, and will give us a new HVAC unit that hopefully we'll be able to work with for an extended period of time again.
On this paperwork here, you also have a quote there by Paragon.
Yes, Paragon.
But what about Integral?
Integral is the general contractor.
Contractor. So they're
Paragon would be
contracting
the sub.
Paragon to do the
Would be
work.
the sub, yeah.
Okay.
Paragon would actually do the work. Integral is the one who actually, actually oversees the whole process and coordinates the whole process.
What are they offering, George, as far as, I mean, I know typically, you know, a warranty for the actual unit itself is 1 year from the manufacturer, but is there any other additional warranties that they're throwing in
No, we'll
here?
have a warranty on the new unit, but
That's what I mean.
the old one is 20
Not-
years
not
old.
the old one.
I'm not sure how long I don't know what the warranty on this one will be. So, I mean, I can't say for sure it's a year, but we have a warranty. And part of what happened with this unit too is not only was it old, but then when the roof was damaged, I'm sure it did additional damage to it. We initially thought, well, we originally thought it's okay, then we realized it needed to be fixed, and then we said, if we gotta fix it, and it's 20 years old, let's just replace it. So, excuse me, the new total would be, the total here would be $30,642, and would allow us to move forward with a new HVAC unit.
And Paragon maintains
Yes.
all of the
They do the
units.
we tend to we go through them when we install new equipment, and we use them for maintenance purposes.
So they're handling the rooftop units and the refrigeration
They're
units?
doing all of our,
And the refrigeration
Yes.
units for the
Yeah. Yep.
food pantry?
they do that too.
Okay.
So they're a primary vendor for those type of services.
Okay.
And they've been very cooperative with us, and their pricing has been very legitimate. I mean, it's been it hasn't been out of line at all. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this?
No, sir.
Okay, if not, can we have roll call?
Trustee Keenley.
Aye.
Trustee Woteki.
Aye.
Trustee Dante.
Aye.
Supervisor Bussie.
Aye. Okay, that's the new business. I do, is in general discussion. Action cannot be taken on this specifically, but I do want us to discuss this. First one is the assessor IGAs, as Connie pointed out. We have sent IGAs to 5 or 6 other townships where we are establishing an IGA with them for the sharing of personnel during high-volume periods. If we send someone to Wheeling, they will be continued to be paid by us at the rate that they're always paid. In other words, there's going to be no change in what they're paid or anything like that. Wheeling doesn't have to pay for them. We just provide our person to work there. And then under this IGA, then they will provide people, the other townships will provide people to support us. Now, will this,
Conversely, at their cost.
at their cost, yeah.
Okay.
Our cost for our
Their
people.
rate of pay.
Our rate of pay for our people, their rate of pay for their people.
Okay.
So if their person comes here and they're paid more than we pay our people, they still get whatever their township pays them.
Okay.
This is a way that it helps us to avoid significant part-time expenditures and allows us to balance off the costs, balance the costs and provide better services
No, it makes
to
total
our
sense to me.
base. I don't have a vote on this tonight because while Palatine's that came in, they were the one township that made some major revisions to it. Jason has reviewed it, our attorney, and he says he doesn't have a problem with it. He doesn't know why they made all the changes, but doesn't have a problem. But it was not done in time for us to be able to put it on the agenda. We also understand from Connie that 2 or 3 other townships at their meeting tonight will be approving these, so they'll probably be sending to us for us to approve it. We're going to probably have to wait to the next meeting unless we have a special meeting, and I'll ask about that at the end here. But what I would like to get now, in just in case we we don't have a special, well, I don't have a special meeting, and we need to carry it on to the next meeting, I still would like to get a sense of the board. I would like to get a little bit of discussion in terms of what you all are thinking in terms of these IGAs, because if we have to wait till the next board meeting, I may want to be able to give Connie permission at least to send some people over even before the IGA is done.
From my perspective, I definitely think that this is a positive, for Connie's office, and I'm on board 100%.
Okay, Greg?
I think, if I understand this correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do, I think it's a win-win situation in both directions for all of us.
Right.
And it's not gonna cost us any more, but it's gonna actually improve, help one another out.
Right.
Especially like Connie's job.
Right.
And vice versa on the other end, so
Right.
I think
Dick?
it makes sense.
Yeah, I would just say, they'll be fine, just, assuming though that, we won't have to, if we send somebody over there, then we're gonna have to have a part-time worker here or something to make
No.
up for them. I mean,
No.
do we have the?
That's
This
not
is-
going to happen. First of all, as I explained to Supervisor Bussey, when we're open for Board of Appeals or Board of Review, with the county or with the Board of Review, rarely are 2 townships that are adjacent open at the same time.
Right.
For example, Schaumburg, nobody else was open. And then it went to Maine, and then we came in.
No.
So that we're not getting to a point where we're depriving our people, our taxpayers of any services, because it's at that point we're not as critically busy as they are.
No, I get it. I understand. I'm just saying that, in case something was to happen or something, and we couldn't send somebody,
Yeah.
could we not send
It's-
somebody?
No,
It's
if we-
voluntary.
Yeah, if we have a period where, let's say Schaumburg opens and we're open at the same time,
No harm, no foul.
neither of us will send to the other
Okay.
person then,
Alright.
yeah.
But if I understand correctly, this is basically prompted by, like, the appeal. That's the reason
Yes.
we hired.
Right. It's through
Part-time.
during high-volume times.
Right.
During the year, the normal time during the year, it won't be necessary unless you have 3 people sick and somebody died or whatever, then maybe there'd be a need for help. But ordinarily, this is just the high-volume appeal times.
And if somebody died or was sick, or 3 people were sick, and it's not the high volume time for appeal,
That's
would they,
still,
would we
it's,
still have the
yeah,
opportunity to
yeah,
get somebody
could ask.
from
absolutely.
here?
Bottom line, you have to understand that the relationship that my office has with Wheeling and Palatine and Maine and Schaumburg is a very effective relationship. We understand each other's needs, and if there is, even without this, I mean, obviously, those of you that were on the board previously know the run-in I had with Supervisor Sweeney on this, which made no sense to me whatsoever and never will. But the fact of the matter is, there is as it were, a fraternity amongst us that we know each other's business. We do the same thing. And it would be untoward at best. I think the analogy that was made is when 9/11 hit, nobody sat around looking for IGAs. People just went to help. And that's our philosophy.
But we're doing an IGA. I wanted to do an IGA because I want to make sure that there's no liability issues for us by sending somebody somewhere else, and they get injured or whatever it is on the way over or while they're there, or any other issues that do arrive. I wanted to make sure that this was formalized and it was done properly so that neither township was at risk in terms of providing these services.
Makes total sense.
Okay, so as these come in, we will have them approved. Hopefully, we'll have them all, so we can approve them at the next board meeting, or at a special meeting if we decide we need to do that. And let me address that next. With the, we've got the healthcare and we've got the property and liability. Healthcare said, you don't have to worry about it, just have it done by December 1st. Property and liability said, we've got a good price right now. It shouldn't be a problem, but, I don't know. If something comes up or we have an anomaly or some other issue, they could change it on us. Is there an interest in having a special meeting prior to the next board meeting in order to, at the end of this week or whatever, to approve the liability and property insurance?
Yes.
And at that time, we could also approve whatever IGAs we have received by that point.
With regard, yeah, I completely agree. Insurance is changes daily.
Like
Okay.
gasoline prices.
And so I think that it's in the best interest for us to get it in before something does come up.
Okay? When are people available? Do you want to do this on a like Friday, early Friday evening, or do you want to do this? What day would be, what would you be comfortable in doing? A special meeting?
Friday evening works for me.
Yeah, Friday would be best, because up till Friday, I'll be pretty busy. So Friday, early Friday evening will be fine, and it should go pretty fast, I'm guessing, so.
So Friday's okay, you're saying?
It is for me.
Okay, Dick?
Yeah, which one are we talking about? This week?
This week, just get it done.
Sure.
Okay. And we'll do it at, can we do it at an earlier meeting, or we need to do it at 7?
Oh, I wouldn't want to do it at 7 on Friday night.
All right, Friday we do it. Do it, or how early can
I
you?
would prefer like 5-ish.
Dick?
Yeah, the
Oh,
earlier the
Vince
better.
can. 5, okay. All right, so we'll call a special meeting for Friday at 5, okay? All right, and that'll be used to approve any IGAs that we get from the township. So Connie, you may want to get on them to get it in right away, because we have to give 48-hour notice for this meeting with an agenda.
Oh, okay,
And
so,
a special meeting can only address things that are on the item,
all
on
right,
the
so
agenda.
I have to have it by tomorrow.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Basically by close of business tomorrow, okay?
They
And
can
if,
just email it.
yeah, they can email it to us.
Signed ones, hopefully they'll get them signed right away.
Okay,
Some
then,
people don't sign them the night of or the morning after, like we do. I mean, sometimes they sit around for a week until somebody gets it signed.
if we know it's approved, then
And-
they can send them.
That was only, it was
If we
only,
know it's approved, we can go forward with it, right?
Well, don't you want a signed document that says it's approved?
I guess so. I
was
guess.
Palatine the only,
They're the only ones that sent it in.
No,
That made
they were the
changes.
only ones that made changes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and basically, it went from a neutral document to an absolutely neutral document.
Okay,
It just
So
got
that's why
bigger.
our attorney didn't have a problem with it.
okay. All right.
Okay, all right, so we'll do that on Friday. Then I will, and we'll do the IGAs and we'll do the insurance line. Be a quick meeting, because it only can address whatever we specifically have on the agenda. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is the security survey that we did with the different townships. I got in the results from Paul later this afternoon, and there was 8 areas that we looked at, and I'm going to give you, talk through this, and then I can have you guys can request a copy of the spreadsheet that we have too. We asked 8 questions, and the first one is, does your township have in place any special security measure for board meetings? 14 said no, and 6 said yes. 3 of them have a part-time off-duty officer of those 6. One has a partial officer. That means he comes sometimes and doesn't come other times. It's kind of when he's available. And then another 2 have staff members. They're not armed, they're just considered to be security, and they're at the meeting. It's just an employee who gets paid overtime to be there, to take the bullet for everyone else, I guess is what it is. But, so, in this situation, we looked at 20 townships, 14 said nothing, and 6 said they did have some security. In the meeting, 3 with officers, 1 with a partial officer, or partial at the time, and 2 with the staff members there. It was interesting, though, one of the ones that said no actually does have a security person, but only for meetings where there's a topic that is potentially controversial. So for us, that might have been when we were selling and buying property. Might have been a time when we were holding the public hearings.
Of the 6, how many of them are required to have somebody there because there's something else going on?
No,
Yeah.
one of them has 2.
Shumper gets somebody at the door.
You mean because there's something else in the building?
Yes.
An employee, and a third one has a security
Yeah.
staff. So
Yep.
I mean,
He's asking.
I'm asking because there's something particular that is a daily function in that building that requires an armed presence. Kids?
are you talking about armed presence or a security presence?
Security presence. 2 of these 6 are not armed.
Okay.
The other 4 are armed, then one of them is not there all the time. And these are just for the board meetings. I don't believe they're for any other purpose. They're not at the building, they're not at their building on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
And then, like I said, one of them that said that they don't have security actually does have an officer, but only at very special, potentially controversial meetings.
Okay.
All right, so that's that. Then on metal detectors, there was nobody. For wanding individuals for weapons as they enter the boardroom, there was nobody. Locking the meeting room after the meeting begins, I believe, what is it? There was one. One did that. And we,
Is that the one that buzzes everybody into the building?
yes, yeah.
No matter what, that's their main door.
Yeah, it was their main door, and they just buzz people in all the time. So they considered that a security. We actually now are locking the door when our meeting starts. But nobody else does that except one has a buzzer, and they do that all the time. Then another question was, does your township have cameras in your boardroom? I think on that situation, we had 16 said no, and 4 said yes. But I have to say, and we have a camera in here too, but I have to say that's not a deterrent. That just will that will provide tape as to who
Yeah,
did it.
after the fact.
Yeah, it's an after the fact, which is, it's nice to
It
have.
still puts us ahead.
It puts us ahead, yeah. There's 4 plus us, 16 don't. Then is there any security provided to board members at public events, such as parades, fundraisers, ribbon cuttings? No, nobody does. Does your township have bulletproof glass installed, where you hold your meetings or anywhere else in the township? I thought there's one. There's one.
Because the office was in the basement.
Yeah, and that's because their GA office is in the basement, and they're by themselves, and they decided to put bulletproof glass down there to provide more security for their GA women who are by themselves down there. And then the last one is, does your township building have any site hardening, such as bollards or concrete barriers or something like that? As you come in, at some point to protect the room where the board meetings are on. And in that one, we had 17 said no and 3 said yes. There's actually 2, but Schaumburg is looking to put 2 bollards in. That would be, the only value that would be is if you put bollards in front of this door here, so they couldn't drive a car in here. We've looked at that in the past when we were looking at putting bollards over at the old Township Hall. And the reason we're going to do that, because those people, we started to have people that were not turning and driving into the bike safety. They're just driving through and driving in there, and that was very expensive. So we didn't do it over there. We also know that the bulletproof glass is very expensive, but, it is what it is. So what we have is we have cameras, which, like I said, which cameras, 4 other townships have, but that's not a deterrent. We lock our door like one township does, and I don't have a problem at all with an officer at meetings, us hiring an officer at meetings where we have a controversial issue. So we have a presence there, so in case there's any anger or anything like that. Now, the other issue that we have, though, our policy is no weapons on our property here other than public safety, and also no conceal and carry in the building either. So those are policies that the township has and has had it in place, which creates a little bit of an issue for you, but keep that in mind. So the ones we addressed were an officer or special security at the meetings, the metal detectors, the wands, locking the door, bulletproof glass, cameras, off-site event security, and site hardening such as bollards and so forth. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Of those, like I said, we have 3, the cameras, the locked door, and I would move forward with the officers at controversial events or public meetings or so forth where there could potentially be a problem. I would also say on that is that any trustee that when they get their agenda feels that there's an item on here that is particularly controversial and is concerned that we maybe need some sort of security at that meeting, can call Paul and he can contact me, and we can make a decision or talk to the trustee requesting it, and if it seems to make sense, have someone there. But in that case, when you get your agenda, you'd have to respond right away that day, because we need a 48-hour notice for the meeting. Those are the 2 things we have, and the one thing that I'm planning to move forward on. On the other issues, is there any discussion?
Is there talk about cameras? I thought there was something about cameras outside. Do we have cameras outside, or?
Yeah, outside, well, that would be the same. We were talking, we did the cameras inside, Mike did the cameras inside, and he was gonna wait to put cameras in outside, until we kind of were done with all the work here.
Right.
That said, once again, it's not a deterrent in any way. It just provides a record of what went on outside, or if we have vandalism in the back, we've got a tape of it. Nobody's sitting at any council watching what's going on. It just provides a tape or a video
Right.
of the very activity, the various activities that we can turn over to the police, or, we can identify that Connie's out back drinking excessively, or whatever it is.
In my dreams.
Yeah.
It might be a deterrent. I mean, they put them in gas stations, the fake ones all the time at gas stations.
Yeah.
For that purpose.
I mean, we could put up, we were gonna put up ones that actually work, that create a
Well,
video.
no, I know,
Yeah.
exactly, I know. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I don't know if it's.
And
not
I
a
suppose there
deterrent.
is a deterrent effect in the fact that there's cameras there.
Yeah, I mean,
And we've got a camera in here, but once again, I mean,
I would say, George, the cost of adding, an outdoor camera, this direction, catching people coming in is a minimal amount of money.
I don't
I
know.
think that was wasn't that part of the original, that was budgeted, wasn't it? And,
What,
The outdoor cameras.
yeah, outdoor cameras.
we talked about it when we were gonna get to the north
Right.
side projects as far as what we would do, which would be cameras that direction and then on the outside of the building, but, because there was still a lot of wiring has to be run to all of those facilities, where those endpoints are.
But was that
We were gonna do it,
budgeted,
but
or?
We didn't have a clue how the building was gonna work out, but I think we're gonna.
So that was delayed until we're done with all the construction, and then at that point, it was gonna be revisited in terms of what it would cost and what we felt it would accomplish.
So it was never in the budget then?
No,
Okay.
no, wasn't in the budget. It's just an item that I have on my list that I have to address at some
I'm
point.
just saying, if it's a one-off as a start for putting the cameras, obviously, we could start here as a deterrent. And that
Yeah,
facilitates, not only the inside, but the outside.
okay. I'd have to check to see what wiring would be necessary, and I wouldn't want to just put one up, and then later on, we decide we need multiple ones. I'd rather do it at a time. It's cost effective to do a package.
Well, it always is to do it
Yeah.
in both, but
And I could put we're in an open meeting, I'm talking about, we'll put a fake one up. I mean, that really doesn't accomplish that much.
Good point.
So I think that, I think that we can look at, we can look with our security experts that we work with and ask them what makes sense in terms of outdoor cameras and how we could do that. Or if we could, we could start the process and do part of it, maybe we put the wiring in, but we don't put all the cameras in all the way around I'm not sure.
that's kind of what
Yeah.
I'm getting to.
Okay,
I mean, the cable runs, depending on where you're going with them, it's always based on how many cables somebody pulls.
right,
So if they get the cables pulled and they're here,
yeah,
and then you're gonna start with
Right.
actual cameras.
you could do the front part where we're already
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
but we can't do the back yet, because
Yeah.
we're ripping that apart still.
Right.
All right, we can look into that. We can look into the cost and what's involved with that. We have the camera inside already. We're locking the door, and I will, how would you say? I will recommend an off-duty officer when we have a controversial issue, and any trustee can raise a concern at a meeting if they feel there's an issue that is particularly concerning.
And I might add also, outside events, the Memorial Day thing, there's cops everywhere. And a parade,
Yeah,
there's a security guard or a cop like every 10 feet on a parade, every parade I ever been involved with. I mean, a parade, like a parades that we do and stuff, I think that's like the most secure thing I could think of.
and we can't provide, to be honest with you, it's like the other township said, you're outside there, even if there's police along the street, the bottom line is unless you want to have a security detail like the president has, and even then, President Kennedy got shot, it's just not efficient, or it doesn't make a lot of sense for an outside event. Okay? All right, so we'll look into installing, looking at what it would take to install cameras for the whole building, but in particular, getting it started where we put the ones in up front. Is there any other discussion on that right now? One of my concerns on that is I don't want to invest a ton of money into this, given that we're a township and we don't have people even attend our meetings. Sorry, you're here. I think that certainly safety and security is a concern, but I think we have to look at this in a realistic sense in terms of what type of risk we're really taking. And so the measures we take, I think, have to be commensurate with the type of risk that we're probably
We
taking.
still have the panic buttons, right?
And the women which offices have the panic button? All of them? Meaning I know the youth, and I know the adult and family counseling, and the front office does? Everything does, okay.
That was a component that wasn't.
Yeah, we didn't ask that question, but that's not for a board meeting. We were
That's good.
looking more at board meetings here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Well-
You're asking if you have like a.
We have panic buttons throughout the building,
Oh, but not.
not
behind you.
not up here, yeah, not up.
That might be a good thing to have too, though. How much would that cost?
Probably nothing, because didn't they have the portable ones for bike safety?
I don't know, Paul.
And if it's a portable one, it could be here in the.
We could get another portable one and put it here, and we'll give
We
it.
should already have at least one, I would think.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
So, I mean, it's just another layer.
yeah, I
Does
mean,
it
And I'm
connect to the
not bringing
police?
my guns.
it's on crawling under the table here. I'll push the button. We could look at an additional panic button number.
Good. We have
But
lots of
once
those.
again, if we're talking about safety issues, that's not going to be necessarily a deterrent, no. That just is going to allow a response within 10, 15 minutes, I don't know, whatever. Okay, all right, I'll put that down too. To get an additional panic button, which we will then either have the administrator carry for the meetings after when he locks the
No,
door.
That doesn't mean that you get to press it if you have a panic attack.
No,
Okay.
it's not a panic
I just
attack.
Or if you have to leave the room.
That's what the defibrillator's for.
So, okay, any other discussion on that? And we'll proceed looking at the two additional issues, cameras and panic button, and cameras and panic button. Okay. Is there anything else that people want to bring up and talk about?
Sorry, say again? Ask,
No.
no.
There's nothing.
Okay, good. I'm glad. All right, if there's no other items, there is no need for an executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Paul?